Let's face it, the regular media is a joke. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be contained by people that got the facts before they reported it. Well, we are bringing that back. This is the Brooks Report Live. We are the true voice of Southeast Texas. Breaking news, weather, traffic alerts, events, Q&As. If it's happening in Southeast Texas, we are there. This is the Brooks Report Live. And now your host, Adam C. Brooks.
Hey guys, thank you for joining us here on the Brooks Report Live. I am your host, Adam Brooks. If you would, put a 1 in the comments if you're watching us live, put a 2 if you're watching the recorded version, and like always, let us know what city you're watching us from. Please be sure and share this broadcast. Invite your friends, tag a few friends in the comment section if you will. Help us grow here on the Brooks Report Live, and stay tuned for the show. Thank you guys for joining us.
Well, welcome everyone to this special edition of the Brooks Report Live. As you guys know, it's election season just right around the corner. In fact, we have several candidates that are already on the campaign trail and working this. And tonight we have the pleasure to talk with, let me bring them in here, Janis Holt and State Representative Ernest Bells, who Ernest Bells is our state representative now. He is our incumbent for House District 18. And I'll let you guys go through the counties just so I don't mess it up, okay? Because I could do that. I know it's Montgomery, and I know Hardin, and what was the other? I'm sorry, what was that, Janice?
And Jacinto County and Liberty County.
Liberty County, okay, that's right. So what I want to do tonight, and this is going to be, I'm not going to say it's going to be laid back, but I want it to be easy, right? I don't want you guys to feel pressured in any kind of way. I just want to bring up some topics. You guys have kind of been down this road before. In fact, it was just a little under 2 years ago. And so I feel like Hardin County and the Southeast Texas folks region know who you guys are, but let's just kind of do a refresher, right? Let's take this opportunity so they know when they go into the voting booth, they know who they're voting for. They have a face with the name. So if you guys are okay with that, I'm going to give you guys 1 minute, or around 1 minute. I'm not going to be real strict on time here to just kind of do a little introduction. You tell folks what you want them to know about you. And we'll start with you, Janice, since you're the lady of the bunch.
Okay.
And just go ahead and take the floor there.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for hosting this tonight. My name is Janis Holt, and I live in Silsbee. I have been a resident of Hardin County in Silsbee for 30 years now. I have been involved with the Republican policies and Republican politics for almost 2 decades, fighting for our priorities, fighting for our values. I serve on the Silsbee School Board. I'm a 10-year member of the Silsbee ISD School Board, and I've been president for the last 2 years. And I just want to serve. I feel like our district needs someone who's going to fight for the priorities of the Republican Party and be a strong voice for our House District 18. And that's why I'm running. And thank you again, Adam, for having us.
Sure. Thank you, Janice. Now let's bring in Ernest. Go ahead, sir. Take the floor. Remind folks, a little bit about you and, what you've been doing there. And so go ahead.
No, Adam, appreciate you having me, sir. Once again, Ernest Bells, born and raised here in Shepherd, Texas, born on a dairy and a beef cattle operation, just a working class guy. I've had the opportunity to serve the people of House District 18 for the last 4 sessions. With redistricting that happened 2 years ago, I lost Walker County, was really fortunate to gain Hardin County and East Montgomery County. This whole job is about service. It's about giving back to an area who gave and ensured that I had opportunities as a kid growing up in Southeast Texas. And I just want to make sure that my kids and other kids for generations to come have the opportunity to know the good thing about this area that I was born and raised having a part of, and just to give back, make sure that we listen to people. This job is not about politics. It's not about parties. It's about listening. It's about serving and truly doing what's best to make sure that the people here have a voice, and we do good, positive things for the people of House District 18.
Well, thank you so much, State Representative Ernest Bells, for that. And Janis, you too, thank you so much for that introduction. So I'm just going to go ahead and move right on to things. The district that you guys serve, House District 18, we're looking at approximately, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not above that, but I believe it's around 200,000 folks, right? Is that correct? 200
Yes.
residents?
Mhm.
And so, that's a lot of folks. In my mind, that's a lot of folks. So if you guys will, here's where I'm just going to start. I'm going to start with the hottest topics that we have today. And if anybody's watched the news at all in the last, I don't know, couple of weeks or so, there's things happening on the border. We all know about the border crisis here in the state of Texas. And, we've seen them bust. We've seen them we've seen Governor Abbott try to take his own actions, and the Biden administration tried to hold that process up or that progress up. And so let's talk about securing our border, if you will. And Janis, since I started with you, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and go to Ernest on this question.
Sure.
No, I appreciate the question. Tell you that's absolutely the biggest issue that's facing the state of Texas. It's facing our whole country. We passed the most robust border security package that has been passed ever in the history of the United States. State of Texas allocated $5 billion. We allocated funding for an additional 100 miles of border wall. We also enabled our judges to enforce deportation. We empowered our local law enforcement to enforce immigration standards. We also gave now where our federal immigration officers can enforce state laws. We also made it to where it's actually a state offense to enter the country illegally. That was not currently on the books. There's a lot of things that we did, and we put that money there to secure our border because it hits every part of the state of Texas in a really big way. But the problem is we shouldn't be having to do that. That is the job of the federal government, and they should be picking up that tab. But because the negative consequence of our hospitals, our schools, our infrastructure, and everything else, if the federal government is not picking that up and doing it, then we have to carry the torch, and we're willing to do so. And the Texas legislature with Governor Abbott, we passed a very robust plan, and I was a big part of that and glad to be part of that. We just need some help at the federal level as well.
Thank you, Ernest, for that. I'm sorry, my mic was muted. Janis, you heard what State Representative Ernest Bells just said. I mean, can you disagree with anything he just mentioned there?
No, the border is the biggest problem. Our nation is being invaded, and the federal government has failed to do their job. The Biden administration, the Democrats have failed to do the job that needs to be done to secure the border. And so Texas is having to step up, and we are having to do that because the illegal immigration status that's coming over is an invasion into Texas, into America. And it's not just Texas, it's all border states. And we've heard many times that, every state is a border state. Governor Abbott, who has endorsed my campaign, by the way, Governor Abbott has brought down governors from all across the nation to come down because they realize the importance of securing the border here at across the bottom of our nation. And areas like Colony Ridge over in Liberty County that have sprung up over the last few years have just been, that's a byproduct of this illegal invasion of our country. Colony Ridge started off as a very small tract and has grown to the size of Washington, D.C. And we can't allow that to happen when you have 40 to 75,000 people out there. The infrastructure can't handle it. The school systems can't handle it. The hospital systems can't handle it. And they don't have a way to grow when a school district can't even get a bond passed in order to accommodate that growth over there. And this was all authored by legislation back in 2017. And we can't allow things like this to happen. And we have to keep fighting to secure our border. Colony Ridge is not an island unto itself. There are many others, and it's coming the direction of Hardin County, and it's coming all across Liberty County, where they're buying up land and trying to start these same types of situation like Colony Ridge, and we have to stand up. It is about the border. We have to stand together, and we have to close this border.
I want to do a follow-up on this and ask, can you lay that out a little better? I mean, what would you do differently if you held this position? Do you already have thoughts in your mind of things that you would like to actively do that would maybe change this?
Absolutely. The biggest problem that I see is that we have to stop the illegals from being able to purchase land in the state of Texas, in America, really, but in the state of Texas. So we need to be working towards that. But in the meantime, there is a lot of things that we can do to make it more difficult for somebody like Trey Harris, who began Colony Ridge and has expanded it to the size, like I said, 60 square miles of Washington, D.C., the same size, and it is expanded. And he's been allowed to sell land, make these cash transactions. And so there are things that can be done. And I don't want to divulge the whole plan because we still have a lot of working parts on it. But on March the 6th, I'm ready to go to work because we've got to stop this. We cannot allow the ease of purchasing land to go on. We have to be able to stop it, and we will. I will stop it.
Thank you, Janis. Ernest, is there anything you'd like to add on that note? I mean,
yeah, quite a bit, Adam. It's interesting. It was just stated that Colony Ridge started in 2017. That couldn't be farther from the truth.
That's not what I said.
Yes, ma'am. You said in 2017. Give me a chance to speak.
I said it expanded. I didn't say it started then. I said it expanded then.
Well, it still didn't expand then. So if you'll give me a second, ma'am, I
Okay.
will be very respectful and let you have
Sure.
your few moments.
You're right.
So,
I will be very respectful. You're right. I'm sorry.
So the late Chairman John Otto actually came with County Judge Jay Knight, as well as County Attorney Wes Hinch, years before I was elected, came and testified before the Senate committee and talked about how big Colony Ridge is an issue and how they lack the necessary tools to be able to restrict that. So as soon as I was elected, I was asked by Liberty County to give them the tools and the mechanisms to be able to restrict that. They actually requested that. That was passed through Commissioner's Court. They actually all signed that. The city of Plum Grove actually passed that same resolution, and they requested that, as well as the city of Cleveland, to be able to give them ability to restrict. We put tools in place that it's the most stringent piece of legislation that has ever been placed in the state of Texas to give the county the tools to restrict this. Colony Ridge is a huge problem. It has growth which no area of the state nor country has ever had to deal with. The problem is the developer did so legally under the current laws, so we've been working to change that. Liberty County did not actually have the development restrictions in place to keep that from happening because they never saw this coming. So with that being said, you kind of wonder how come more was not done. It's problematic when Trey Harris, the same issue, who started all of this, has given Governor Abbott $1.5 million. So the first $50,000 contribution actually got Trey Harris to sit down in the governor's mansion with Governor Abbott, with Louis Sines, chief of staff, and they signed off on opportunities on designation because I refused to do so. And that allowed the developer to actually receive federal funds to help with growing that development. And that was signed off by Governor Abbott, who has received $1.5 million from the developer. So it's been kind of hard as a junior representative to put those restrictions in place. But I tell you, we've done a lot to help the hypersonic growth, to help our school districts, to empower law enforcement. We were able to pass $40 million additional help for officers right there. And we've done absolutely everything we can, but it's very hard when the person at the very top is not actively fighting to stop that at the same time.
Ernest, thank you so much for that. I'm going to go ahead and move to another topic. And Janis, this will go to you first, since we started with Ernest on that one. And I want to move to something that's really near and dear to Texans' heart. I mean, I don't know of a Texan, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that doesn't really agree with or that has a firearm or personal protection. And a lot of people confuse that with, well, I don't hunt, why do I need a gun? Well, that's not what the Second Amendment's all about. Let's get that clear. So let's talk about defending the Second Amendment, and if you have anything you want to add to that, you can.
Sure. Our Second Amendment is one of our most critical freedoms that we have: the freedom to be able to protect ourselves, the freedom to bear arms, the freedom to take up arms. That was put into our Constitution because they wanted to be able to protect themselves from the government. And so it's important that we strengthen it at every turn, whatever we can do. And I take it right back to the border and the illegal immigration and the people that are coming over the border, the cartels and everything else that's coming across. We don't know if someone that's going to pass us and run us off the road or whatever's going to happen. We have to be able to defend ourselves. The more that I travel and the more that, with my children, with my grandchildren or their friends, we want to be able to protect ourselves. So anything that we can do to strengthen the gun laws is a positive. We must always defend our Second Amendment rights. And we should never freely give our arms up at any cost. And so when those laws come across our border, come across our desk that we will need to strengthen our Second Amendment rights, well, then I'm right there in the middle of that for sure. And just wanted to say that the NRA does not endorse candidates unless you're the incumbent. But I was able to receive the highest ranking for the NRA that they give out for candidates, and very proud of that, and very proud of our heritage with our Second Amendment rights here in Texas.
Thank you, Janis, for that. State Rep Ernest Bells, if you want to go ahead and tackle that, you can, the Second Amendment.
As a member who served for 4 terms, I have a voting record. My voting record speaks for itself, and that's why I was plainly endorsed by the NRA. Someone who was born and raised on a cattle operation, guns are a tool. That's part of everyday life. I make my living working at hunting ranches on the reproduction side, and both my 2 sons actively compete in sporting clays. So it's you're not going to find a stronger supporter of the Second Amendment, and my record speaks volumes that I have always done that and will continue to do so.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bells. Janis, do you have any kind of rebuttal for anything?
Not a rebuttal so much, but just red flag laws also. I mentioned those. Red flag laws are something that you hear a lot about, and that's in complete dissonance with our Second Amendment rights, and we need to always be fighting against that too as well.
Okay. All right. So let's move forward then. When I say uphold Texas values, that is the next topic I have there on the screen, and what that means is I would really like to talk about, it can be whatever you want, but I would like to know y'all's stance on property taxes. So if we could, Ernest, I'm going to start with you on that.
We did the largest property tax package that's ever been passed in the state of Texas. We passed $18 billion, $15 billion of that actually went and shifted the contribution from the local aspect to fund public education to shifting that burden back to the state. We also increased homestead exemption up to $100,000. We did a 3-year circuit breaker on a 20% increase of all non-homesteaded properties with valuation less than $5 million. We also, to help our small businesses, we increased our franchise tax from 1 up to $2.47 million. So, property taxes are the biggest thing that hit me as a homeowner as well as a business owner, and they hit every person in House District 18. And that is a big part of why the last session and this upcoming session is so important. Vouchers comes up as a huge part of the conversation. And if you look at the negative impact of that and the additional monies that actually requires to be spent, if that were going into effect next year, we would actually have to revert back any of the property tax savings that we did, and we would actually have to double the collections by year 4. So it's hard to say I'm fiscally conservative. I want to do away with your taxes, but then again say, you know what, I want to give you $10,000 per kid, no strings attached, including every kid that comes over illegally, it's hard to have your cake and eat it too, and it's not conservative. So I'm a business owner, I'm a homeowner, I listen to the people, and I just want to make sure that you keep as much of your hard-earned money in your pocket. You know best how to spend that. That should not go to the government to spend. It needs to stay right there at home.
Well, thank you, Ernest. Janice, do you want to tackle that topic, property taxes?
Sure. Property taxes is a big subject, and it's talked about everywhere. When you sit down, people are talking about it it's a kitchen table issue. People are talking about it with their families. I just would like to note that the property tax bill didn't happen in regular session. The governor had to call them back to session to do that in a special session. And even though many did see a decrease in their taxes, I saw a slight decrease in our personal property taxes, but many people did not see that. And so people are still frustrated because they feel, just having to struggle with the taxes is still high. So we need to change that. We need to do something to have an alternative to the property tax, and that whether that's a sales tax, consumption tax, whatever it is that you would like to call it, where everybody has a little bit of skin in the game. When you go to purchase something, and if you decide that you don't want to purchase that because the sales tax is too high, well, that's your prerogative. You don't have to do that at that point. And the other side of this is the appraisals. The appraisals are just going through the roof, and people, I hear people that go every year, they go down to the appraisal district to argue their property taxes. Sometimes they get relief, sometimes they don't. But it's a problem. It's a failed system. We need to change it. We need to fix it up. And we need to be able to offer people an alternative to property taxes. And so I look forward to working with the legislature when I'm elected to be able to do that and to reform this system, because people are hurting, and we need to eliminate the property tax system as it stands today.
Well, Janice, I'm just going to keep you, unless Ernest, you have anything you want to rebut there?
You know what I do? I mean, so I mentioned the 20% circuit breaker that we actually passed on the non-homesteaded valuation less than $5 million. I actually had the legislation and carried that to put a cap on the appraisal side, because you can have an entity which says they lower your taxes every year, but if the valuations go up, you write a bigger check. And there's no way to tell someone that you lowered their taxes if they wrote a bigger check. So there's a ton of issues with that. And then again, you look at the consumption tax. We've worked on that over the last couple of sessions. We actually look at doing a hybrid revision of increase the share to a consumption tax, and then decrease the dependency upon a property valuations. But the issue with that is, so my wife Courtney, if she goes grocery shopping and she goes to a Walmart, there's not a Walmart in Cold Spring, Oak, or COCISD district, nor is there in all of San Jacinto County. So she would actually be spending that money in a different county, either Liberty County or Polk County. And then we're still going to have to beg for that money to come back as a small rural area. So there's a lot of issues with that.
Well,
we've got to get away from property taxes. And that's one thing we're wholly committed to, but there's a lot of things that have to be worked out. And that's one thing we have been trying to do. And the first step was to decrease the amount of property taxes that you have to pay. We have to make sure we spend those collections responsibly.
Well, Ernest, Janice kind of touched on it just a little bit, but, basically, I think what I'm hearing is there just needs to be a complete reform of the system. Is that right? And Janice, I believe that's what you were saying too.
Yes.
So, okay, just so we're all on the same page. All right. So, guys, I want to say, first of all, thank you for joining me. I feel like those are some of the issues. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to do a close up. Tell the folks whatever you want to tell them, whatever you want to say. This is your time. What I would like to know, though, in this closing, if you could, let the folks know here in Hardin County and Montgomery and San Jacinto and let them know, what are you going to do? I mean, how proactive are you going to be? And when it's, I believe it's, what is it? That first Tuesday of after the primaries that next year? Is that what it is? Do you guys start your job?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In January. Mm-hmm.
January, right? So let them know, what are you going to do? How are you going to tackle your job? You're asking folks for their votes. Let them know what you're going to do once you get elected. And Ernest, I started with Janis earlier, so I'm going to let you go ahead and go.
We're going to continue the work that we've done since day one. I mean, that's the deal. We're steadily working in Austin right now, part of a campaign, but we're actively doing the job of state representative. I was part of the two most conservative sessions ever in the history of the state of Texas. I was an active part of that, working side by side in order to make those accomplishments happen. I'll tell you, some of the biggest things is campaigns are a dirty business in politics. I'm not going to let that run my life and who I am. I owe to my family, my church family in this district. If I can't get elected by telling you the truth and being positive, then I don't deserve to be elected. You look at the lies that are put out. There's so many things that have just completely been skewed, where there's no faction of truth in those. But people, all they feel they have to do is just plant the seed of doubt. And you know what? I've worked really hard. I keep my nose clean. I come back. I take care of my family. I take care of my business. I listen to the people, and I want to make sure that I am the absolute very best representative that House District 18 has, Hardin County has. I think we've been very effective, and we will continue being very effective. I want to keep this clean. I want to keep this positive because I owe that to everyone involved. And I mean, if you see mud being slung, it's not for me. I never say my opponent's name. I never show my opponent's picture. That's just not very classy, and it's not tactful. And I raise my kids better than that. So I don't need to lead the example to show them that that's an acceptable thing to do. You know what? It's an honor to serve you guys. I will continue doing the job. I look forward to being elected again, and we will continue doing the work the day after March 5th. And you know, it's an honor. This is about service, and I'm glad to be the voice that we have in rural Southeast Texas.
Well, thank you for that, Ernest. And thank you for coming on and doing the show tonight. Janis, you have the floor. Go ahead and tell folks whatever you'd like to. This is your time. You can talk about whatever you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you again, Adam, for hosting this tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to the viewers. I am running for one reason, and I believe that I have the best record of conservative values to be able to represent the people that live in House District 18. I will be that candidate and that representative that fights for our values. And I differ with Representative Bales in saying that being Republican doesn't have anything to do with it. It has everything to do with it, because it begins where our values are. And that's where we have to keep fighting for our values. I will be that representative that fights for those values and that gets our values to get a bill written for those values and get it onto the calendars and get it passed. It is a process, and it's all about relationships. I have relationships because I've been working with our legislature for years. And I have those relationships, and I've built the relationships within the community. And everywhere I go, people are excited because they see that there can be a change in our representative race. There can be someone who shows up, someone who doesn't just show up when it's election time, and that's the only time that they hear from their representative. They want to know that they can pick up the phone and get a call back from their representative. I hear it every day throughout this district, and that's the kind of representative that I will be. That's the kind of person that I am. I build those relationships and want those relationships in order to make a better House District 18. We have to continue to fight for what we believe in as a Republican Party. This is a Republican primary. I didn't have to decide to try to run in a Republican primary. I am a Republican and have been a Republican since I was old enough to vote. And so we have to continue to fight. And I will fight for those values that we all share. We are the third most conservative Republican district in the state of Texas, and we deserve a representative that doesn't score in the D's and F's range on every metric of a Republican scoring with their voting. And so I want to be the representative that will take that fight to the legislature. And Governor Abbott, Senator Cruz, the Ag Commissioner, all agree with that and have endorsed my campaign because they know that I am a conservative Republican fighter. So on March 5th, it's up to the voters of House District 18, and I hope that you will get out and vote. You can go to holtfortexas.com, find out more about what I stand for and what I will do as a representative. And our early voting starts on February 20th and goes through March the 1st. And I look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'll be happy to answer.
Well, I want to thank both of you guys for coming on. I know we went a little longer than I initially told you guys we would, and I'm sorry about that, but I didn't want to restrict you guys, right? I wanted you guys to say whatever you wanted to say as much time as you needed to say it. So with that being said, thank you guys for coming on, and I want to encourage the viewers that if you have more questions or anything, they both have Facebook pages, and I'm sure X pages and everything else pages. So you can reach out to them. You can probably just Google and get an email address if that's the case too. So again, thank you guys for both coming on.
Thank you, Adam.
Yes. Thank you, Ernest. Thank you, Janis.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me here on the Bush Report Live. We will be doing more of these. We will get to know the candidates as we move forward through the weeks here, as we get closer to voting time, which is coming up in probably 16, 17 days, I believe. I believe it starts February 20th, if I'm not mistaken, but I will double check that and keep you posted right here on the Bush Report Live. Don't forget, set those notification bell to all live notifications so you never miss a broadcast, whether it's Dana's weather forecast, whether it's me, whether it's a traffic alert or something else. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Brooks Report Live. My name is Adam Brooks.